Krishna. We'd like to welcome everyone to our Krishna book reading to Srila Prabhupada, and we'd like to begin by offering our humble obeisance to Srila Prabhupada and to each other. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Simate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Visesha Sunyavadi Pasacha Deshatarine, and to each other. Pancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we'll be reading chapter 58 today, entitled Five Queens Married by Krishna. As mentioned in the last chapter, there was a great rumor that the five Pandava brothers, along with their mother Kunti, had died, according to the plan of the sons of the Dhritarashtra, in a fire accident in the house of Lag in which they were living. But then the five brothers were detected at the marriage ceremony of Draupadi. So another rumor spread that the Pandavas and their mother were not dead. It was a rumor, but actually it was so. They returned to their capital city, Hastinapura, and people saw them face to face. When this news was carried to Krishna and Balaram, Krishna wanted to see them personally, and therefore he decided to go to Hastinapura. This time Krishna had visited Hastinapura in state as a royal prince, accompanied by his commander-in-chief, Yuyudhan, and by many other soldiers. He had not actually been invited to visit the city, yet he went to see the Pandavas out of his affection for his great devotees. He visited the Pandavas without warning, and all of them got up from their respective seats as soon as they saw him. Krishna is called Mukunda because as soon as one comes in constant touch with Krishna or sees him in full Krishna consciousness, one immediately becomes freed from all material anxieties. Not only that, but one is immediately blessed with all spiritual bliss.
Receiving Krishna, the Pandavas were enlivened, just as if awakened from unconsciousness or loss of life. When a man is lying unconscious, his senses and the different parts of his body are inactive. But when he regains his consciousness, the senses immediately become active. Similarly, the Pandavas received Krishna as if they had just regained their consciousness, and so they were very much enlivened. Lord Krishna embraced every one of them, and by the touch of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Pandavas immediately became freed from all reactions of material contamination and were therefore smiling in spiritual bliss. By seeing the face of Lord Krishna, everyone was transcendently satisfied. Lord Krishna, although the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was playing the part of an ordinary human being, and thus he immediately touched the feet of Yudhishthira and Bhima because they were his two older cousins. Arjuna embraced Krishna as a friend of the same age, whereas the two younger brothers, namely Nakula and Sagadeva, touched the lotus feet of Krishna to show him respect. After an exchange of greetings, according to the social ethic befitting the position of the Pandavas and Lord Krishna, Krishna was offered an exalted seat. When he was comfortably seated, the newly married Draupadi, young and very beautiful in her natural feminine gracefulness, came before Lord Krishna to offer her respectful greetings. The Yadavas who accompanied Krishna to Hastinapura were also very respectfully received. Specifically, Satyaki or Yudhana was also offered a nice seat. In this way, when everyone else was properly seated, the 5 brothers took their seats near Lord Krishna. After meeting with the 5 brothers, Lord Krishna personally went to visit Srimati Kundi Devi, the mother of the Pandavas, who was also Krishna's paternal aunt. In offering his respects to his aunt, Krishna also touched her feet. Kundi Devi's eyes became wet, and in great love she feelingly embraced Lord Krishna. She then inquired from him about the well-being of her paternal family members, her brother Vasudeva, his wives, and other members of the family. Similarly, Krishna also inquired from his aunt about the welfare of the Pandava family. Although Kundi Devi was related to Krishna by family ties, she knew immediately after meeting him that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She remembered the past calamities of her life and how by the grace of Krishna she and her sons, the Pandavas, had been saved. She knew perfectly well that without Krishna's grace no one could have saved them from the fire accident designed by the sons of Dhritarashtra. In a choked up voice, she began to narrate before Krishna the history of the life.
Srimati Kunti said, "My dear Krishna, I remember the day when you sent my brother Akrura to gather information about us. This means that you always remember us automatically. When you sent Akrura, I could understand that there was no possibility of our being put in danger. All good fortune in our life began when you sent Akrura to us. Since then, I have been convinced that we are not without protection. We may be put into various types of dangerous conditions by our family members, the Kurus, but I am confident that you remember us and always keep us safe and sound. Even ordinary devotees who simply think of you are always immune to all kinds of material danger. And what to speak of ourselves, who are personally remembered by you. So, my dear Krishna, there is no question of bad luck. We are always in an auspicious position because of your grace. Yet, although you have bestowed a special favor on us, people should not mistakenly think that you are partial to some and inattentive to others. You have no such distinction. No one is your favorite and no one is your enemy. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are equal to everyone and everyone can take advantage of your special protection. The fact is that although you are equal to everyone, you are specially inclined to the devotees who always thinks of you. The devotees are related to you by ties of love. As such, they cannot forget you even for a moment. You are present in everyone's heart. But because the devotees always remember you, you respond accordingly. Although a mother has affection for all her children, she takes special care of the one who is fully dependent. I know certainly, my dear Krishna, that being seated in everyone's heart, you always create auspicious situations for your unalloyed devotees.
Then King Yudhishthira also praised Krishna as the Supreme Personality and universal friend of everyone. But because Krishna was taking special care of the Pandavas, King Yudhishthira said, "My dear Krishna, We do not know what sort of pious activities we have executed in our past lives that have made you so kind and gracious to us. We know very well that the great mystics always engage in meditation to capture you do not find it easy to obtain such grace, nor can they draw any personal attention from you. I cannot understand why you are so kind to us. We are not yogis. On the contrary, we are attached to material contaminations. We are householders dealing with politics, worldly affairs. I do not know why you are so kind to us.
Being requested by King Yudhishthira, Krishna agreed to stay in Hastinapur for 4 months during the rainy seasons. The 4 months of the rainy seasons are called Chaturmasya. During this period, the generally itinerant preachers and the Brahmanas stop at a certain place and live under rigid regulative principles. Although Lord Krishna is above all the regulative principles, he agreed to stay at Hastinapura out of affection for the Pandavas. Taking this opportunity of Krishna's residence in Hastinapur, all the citizens of the city got the privilege of seeing him now and then, and thus they merged into the transcendent bliss simply by seeing Lord Krishna face to face.
One day, while Krishna was staying with the Pandavas, he and Arjuna prepared themselves to go to the forest to hunt. Both of them sat down on Arjuna's chariot, which flew a flag with a picture of Hanuman. Arjuna's special chariot is always marked with a picture of Hanuman, and therefore he is also named Kabidvaja. Kabi means Hanuman and Vaja means flag. Thus, Arjuna prepared to go to the forest with his bow and infallible arrows. He dressed himself with suitable protective garments, for he was to practice for the time when he would be killing many enemies on the battlefield. He specifically entered that part of the forest where there were many tigers, deer, and various other animals. The reason Krishna went with Arjuna was not to practice animal killing, for he does not have to practice anything. He is self-sufficient. He accompanied Arjuna to see how he was practicing, because in the future he would have to kill many enemies. After entering the forest, Arjuna killed many tigers, boars, bison, gavayas, a kind of wild animal, rhinoceros, deer, hares, porcupines, and similar other animals, which he pierced with his arrows. Some of the dead animals that were fit to be offered in sacrifices were carried by servants and sent to King Yudhishthira. The ferocious animals such as tigers and rhinoceroses were killed only to stop disturbances in the forest. Since there are many sages and saintly persons who are residents of the forest, it is the duty of the Kshatriya kings to keep even the forest in a peaceful condition for living.
Arjuna felt tired and thirsty from hunting, and therefore he went to the bank of the Yamuna along with Krishna. When both the Krishnas, namely Krishna and Arjuna, reached the bank of the Yamuna, Arjuna is sometimes called Krishna, as is Draupadi. They washed their hands, feet, and mouths and drank the clear water of the Yamuna. While resting and drinking water, they saw a beautiful girl of marriageable age walking alone on the bank of the Yamuna. Krishna asked his friend Arjuna to go forward and ask the girl who she was. By the order of Krishna, Arjuna immediately approached the girl, who was very beautiful. She had an attractive body, nice glittering teeth, and a smiling face. Arjuna inquired, "My dear girl, you are so beautiful with your raised breasts. May I ask you, who are you? We are surprised to see you loitering here alone. What is your purpose in coming here? We can guess only that you are searching after a suitable husband. If you don't mind, you can disclose your purpose. I shall try to satisfy you." The beautiful girl was the river Yamuna personified. She replied, "Sir, I am the daughter of the sun god, and I am now performing penance and austerity to have Lord Vishnu as my husband. I think he is the supreme person and just suitable to become my husband. I disclose my desire thus because you wanted to know it."
The girl continued, "My dear sir, I know that you are the hero Arjuna, so I may further say that I shall not accept anyone as my husband beside Lord Vishnu, because he is the only protector of all. Living entities and the bestower of liberation for all conditioned souls. I shall be thankful unto you if you pray to Lord Vishnu to be pleased with me." The girl Yamuna knew it well that Arjuna was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, and that if he would pray, Krishna would never deny his request. To approach Krishna directly may sometimes be futile, but to approach Krishna through his devotee is sure to be successful. She further told Arjuna, "My name is Kalindi, and I live within the waters of the Yamuna. My father was kind enough to construct a special house for me within the waters of the Yamuna, and I have vowed to remain in the water as long as I cannot find Lord Krishna." Arjuna duly carried the message of the girl Kalindi to Krishna. Although Krishna, as the super soul in everyone's heart, knew everything, without further discussion, Krishna immediately accepted Kalindi and asked her to sit down on the chariot. Then all of them approached King Yudhishthira. After this,
Krishna was asked by King Yudhishthira to help in constructing a suitable house to be planned by the great architect Vishvakarma, the celestial engineer in the heavenly kingdom. Krishna immediately called for Vishvakarma and made him construct a wonderful city according to the desire of King Yudhishthira. When this city was constructed, Maharaja Yudhishthira requested Krishna to live with them a few days more to give them the pleasure of his association. Lord Krishna accepted the request of Maharaj Yudhishthira and remained there for many days more.
In the meantime, Krishna engaged in the pastime of offering the Khandava forest, which belonged to King Indra. Krishna wanted to give it to Agni, the fire god. The Khandava forest contained many varieties of drugs, and Agni required to eat them for rejuvenation. Agni, however, did not touch the Khandava forest directly, but requested Krishna to help him. Agni knew that Krishna was very much pleased with him because he had formerly given him the Sudarshana disc. So in order to satisfy Agni, Krishna became the chariot driver of Arjuna, and both went to the Khandava forest. After Agni had eaten up the Khandava forest, he was very much pleased. At this time, he offered Arjuna a special bow known as Gandiva, for 4 white horses, 1 chariot, and an invisible quiver with 2 special arrows, considered to be talismans, which had so much power that no warrior could counteract them. When the Khandava forest was being devoured by the fire god Agni, there was a demon of the name Maya who was saved by Arjuna from the devastating fire. For this reason, that former demon became a great friend of Arjuna. In order to please Arjuna, he constructed a nice assembly house within the city constructed by Vishwakarma. This assembly house had some corners so puzzling that when Duryodhana came to visit this house, he was misdirected, accepting water as the land and land as water. Duryodhana was thus insulted by the opulence of the Pandavas and he became their determined enemy.
After a few days, Lord Krishna took permission from King Yudhishthira to return to Dwaraka. When he got permission, he returned to his country accompanied by Satyaki, the leader of the Yadus, who were living in Hastinapura with him. Kalindi also returned with Krishna to Dwaraka. After returning, Krishna consulted many learned astrologers to find the suitable moment at which to marry Kalindi, and then he married her with great pomp. This marriage ceremony gave much pleasure to the relatives of both parties, and all of them enjoyed the great occasion.
The kings of Avantipura, now known as Ujjain, were named Vindhya and Anuvindhya. Both kings were under the control of Duryodhana. They had one sister named Mitravinda, who was very qualified, learned, and elegant girl, the daughter of one of Krishna's aunts. She was to select her husband in an assembly of princes, but she strongly desired to have Krishna as her husband. During the assembly for selecting her husband, Krishna was present, and he forcibly carried away Mitravinda in the presence of all other royal princes. Being unable to resist Krishna, the princes were left simply looking at one another.
After this incident, Krishna married this daughter of the king of Koshala. The king of Koshala province was the Nagnajit. He was very pious and was a follower of Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. His most beautiful daughter was named Satya. Sometimes Satya was called Nagnajit, for she was the daughter of King Nagnajit. King Nagnajit wanted to give the hand of his daughter to any prince who could defeat 7 very strong, stalwart bulls maintained by him. No one in the princely order could defeat the 7 bulls, and therefore no one could claim the hand of Satya. The 7 bulls were very strong, and they could hardly bear even the smell of any prince. Many princes visit the kingdom and try to subdue the bulls, but instead of controlling him, they themselves were defeated. This news spread all over the country, and when Krishna heard that one could achieve the goal Satya only by defeating the 7 bulls, he prepared himself to go to the kingdom of Koshala with many soldiers. He approached that part of the country known as Ayodhya, making a regular state visit.
When it became known to the king of Koshala that Krishna had come to ask the hand of his daughter, he was very much pleased. With great respect and pomp, he welcomed Krishna to the kingdom. When Krishna approached him, he offered the Lord a suitable sitting place and articles for reception. Everything appeared very elegant. Krishna also offered him respectful obeisances, thinking him to be his future father-in-law. When Satya understood that Krishna himself had come to marry her, she was very much pleased that the husband of the goddess of fortune had so kindly come there to accept her. For a long time, she had cherished the idea of marrying Krishna and was following the principles of austerities to obtain her desired husband. She then began to think, if I have performed any pious activities to the best of my ability, and if I have sincerely thought all along to have Krishna as my husband, then Krishna may be pleased to fulfill my long-cherished desire. She began to offer prayers to Krishna mentally, thinking, I do not know how the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be pleased with me. He is the Master and Lord of everyone. Even the Goddess of Fortune, whose place is next to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and many other demigods of different planets always offer their respectful obeisances unto the Lord. The Lord also sometimes descends to the different earth. The Lord also sometimes descends to this earth in different incarnations to fulfill the desire of his devotees. He is so exalted and great that I do not know how to satisfy him.
She thought that the Supreme Personality of Godhead could be pleased only out of his own causeless mercy upon the devotee. Otherwise, there was no means to please him. Lord Chaitanya, in the same way, prayed in his Shikshastaka verses, My Lord, I am your eternal servant. Somehow or other, I have fallen into this material existence. If you kindly pick me up and fix me as an atom of dust at your lotus feet, it will be a great favor to your eternal servant. The Lord can be pleased only by a humble attitude in this service spirit. The more we render service unto the Lord under the direction of the spiritual master, the more we make advancement on the path approaching the Lord. We cannot demand any grace or mercy from the Lord because of our service rendered to Him. He may accept or not accept our service, but the only means to satisfy the Lord is through the service attitude and nothing else.
King Nagnajit was a pious king, and having Lord Krishna in his palace, he began to worship him to the best of his knowledge and ability. He presented himself before the Lord thus, My dear Lord, you are the proprietor of the whole cosmic manifestation, and you are the Narayan, the resting place of all living entities, all living creatures. You are self-sufficient and pleased with your personal opulences. So how can I offer you anything? And how could I please you by such an offering? It is not possible, because I am an insignificant living being. Actually, I have no ability to render any service unto you. Krishna is the super soul of all living creatures, so he could understand the mind of Satya. He was also very much pleased with the respectful worship of the king in offering him a sitting place, eatables, residence, and so on. He was appreciative, therefore, that both the girl and her father were eager to have him as their intimate relative. He smiled and in a great voice said, My dear King Nagnajit, you know very well that anyone in the princely order who is regular in his position will never ask anything from anyone, however exalted he may be. Such requests by a Kshatriya king have been deliberately forbidden by the learned Vedic followers. If a Kshatriya breaks this regulation, his action is condemned by the learned scholar. But in spite of these rigid regulative principles, I am asking you for the hand of your beautiful daughter just to establish our relationship in return for your great deception of me. You may also be pleased to be informed that In our family tradition, there is no scope for our offering anything in exchange for accepting your daughter. We cannot pay any price you may impose for delivering her. In other words, Krishna wanted the hand of Satya from the king without fulfilling the condition of defeating the 7 bulls.
After hearing the statement of Lord Krishna, King Nagnajit said, "My dear Lord, you are the reservoir of all pleasure, all opulences and all qualities. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Ji, always lives on your chest. Under these circumstances, you can be a better husband for my daughter. Both my daughter and I have always prayed for this opportunity. You are the chief of the Yadu dynasty. You may kindly know that from the very beginning I have made a vow to marry my daughter to a suitable candidate, one who can come out victorious in the test I have devised. I have imposed this test just to understand the prowess and position of my intended son-in-law. You, Lord Krishna, are the chief of all heroes. I am sure you will be able to bring these 7 bulls under control without any difficulty. Until now, they have never been subdued by any prince. Anyone who has attempted to bring them under control has simply had his limbs broken."
King Nagnajit continued his request. Krishna, if you kindly bridle the 7 bulls and bring them under control, then undoubtedly you will be selected as the desired husband of my daughter Satya. After hearing this statement, Krishna could understand that the king did not want to break his vow. Thus, in order to fulfill his desire, he tightened his belt and prepared to fight with the bulls. He immediately divided himself into 7 Krishnas, and each one of them immediately caught hold of a bull and bridled its nose, thus bringing it under control as if it were a plaything. Krishna's dividing himself into 7 is very significant. It was known to Satya that Krishna had already married many other wives, but still she was attached to Krishna. In order to encourage her, Krishna immediately expanded himself into 7. The purport is that Krishna is one, but he has unlimited forms of expansions. He married many thousands of wives, but this does not mean that while he was with one wife, the others were bereft of his association. Krishna could associate with each and every wife by his expansions.
When Krishna brought the bulls under his control by bridling their noses, their strength and pride were immediately smashed. The name and fame which the bulls had attained was thus vanished. When Krishna had the bulls bridled, he pulled them strongly, just as a child pulls a toy wooden bull. Upon seeing this advantage of Krishna, King Nagnajit became very much astonished and immediately with great pleasure brought his daughter Satya before Krishna and handed her over to him. Krishna also immediately accepted Satya as his wife. Then there was a marriage ceremony with great pomp. The queens of Nagnajit, king of Nagnajit, were also very much pleased because their daughter Satya got Krishna as her husband. Since the king and queens were very much pleased on their auspicious occasion, there was a celebration all over the city in honor of the marriage. everywhere were heard the sound of the conch and kettle drum and various other vibrations of music and song. The learned Brahmins showered their blessings upon the newly married couple in jubilations, and the inhabitant of the city dresses themselves with colorful garments and ornaments. King Nagnajit was so much pleased that he gave a dowry to his daughter and son-in-law as follows.
First of all, he gave them 10,000 cows and 3,000 well-dressed young maidservants, ornamented up to their necks. This system of dowry is still current in India, especially for Kshatriya princes. When a Kshatriya prince is married, at least a dozen maidservants of similar age are given along with the bride. After giving the cows and maidservants, the king enriched the dowry by giving 9,000 elephants and 100 times more chariots than elephants. This means that he gave 900,000 chariots and he gave 100 times more horses than chariots, or 90 million horses and 100 times more men servants than horses. Royal princes maintained such men servants and maid servants with all provisions, as if they were their own children or family members. After giving this dowry, the king of Koshala province bade his daughter and great son-in-law be seated on a chariot and allowed them to go to their home, guarded by a division of well-equipped soldiers. As they traveled fast to their new home, the king's heart was enlivened with affection for them.
Before this marriage of Satya with Krishna, there had been many competitive engagements with the bulls of King Nagnajit, and many other princes of the Yadu dynasty and of other dynasties as well had tried to win the hand of Satya. When the frustrated princes of the other dynasties heard that Krishna was successful in getting the hand of Satya by subduing the bulls, naturally they became envious. While Krishna was traveling to Dwaraka, all the frustrated and defeated princes encircled him and began to shower their arrows on the bridal party. When they attacked Krishna's party and shot arrows like incessant torrents of rain, Arjuna, the best friend of Krishna, took charge of the challenge, and he alone very easily drove them off to please his great friend Krishna on the occasion of his marriage. Arjuna immediately took up his vow, Gandiva, and chased away all the princes, exactly as a lion drives away all small animals simply by chasing them. Arjuna drove away all the princes without killing even one of them. After this, the chief of the Yadu dynasty, Lord Krishna, along with his newly married wife and the huge dowry, entered the city of Dwaraka with great pomp. Krishna then lived there with his wife very peacefully.
Besides Kunti Devi, Krishna had another paternal aunt. Her name was Shrutakirti, and she was married and lived in Kaikaya province. She had a daughter whose name was Bhadra. Bhadra wanted to marry Krishna, and her brother handed her over to him unconditionally. Krishna accepted her as his bona fide wife. Thereafter, Krishna married a daughter of the king of Madras province. Her name was Lakshmana, and she had all good qualities. She was also forcibly married by Krishna, who took her in the same way that Garuda snatched the jar of the nectar from the hands of the demigods. Krishna kidnapped this girl in the presence of many other princes in the assembly of her Swayamvara. The Swayamvara is a ceremony in which the bride can select her own husband from an assembly of many princes. The description of Krishna's marriage with the 5 girls mentioned in this chapter is not sufficient. He had many other thousands of wives besides them. Krishna accepted the other thousands of wives after killing a demon named Bhaumasura. All these thousands of girls were held captive in the palace of Bhaumasura, and Krishna released them and married them. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 58th chapter of Krishna, the 5 queens married by Krishna. Hari Bol.
Chapter 59. The deliverance of the demon Bhaumasura. The story of Bhaumasura, how he kidnapped and made captive 16,000 princesses by collecting them from the palaces of various kings, and how he was killed by Krishna, the Supreme Lord of wonderful character, is all described by Sukadeva Goswami to King Parikshit in Srimad Bhagavatam. Generally, the demons are always against the demigods. This demon Bhaumasura, having become very powerful, took by force the umbrella from the throne of the demigod Varuna. He also took the earrings of Aditi, the mother of the demigods. He conquered the portion of heavenly Mount Meru known as Mani Parvata and occupied it. The king of the heavenly planets, Indra, therefore came to Dwaraka to complain about Bhaumasura before Lord Krishna.
Hearing this complaint by Indra, the king of heaven, Lord Krishna, accompanied by his wife Satyabhama, immediately started for the abode of Bhaumasura. The 2 of them rode on the back of Garuda, who flew them to Pragjotishapura, Bhaumasura's capital city. To enter the city of Pragjotishapura was not a very easy task, because it was very well fortified. First of all, there were 4 strongholds guarding the 4 directions of the city, which was well protected on all sides by formidable military strength. The next boundary was a water canal all around the city. And in addition, the whole city was surrounded by electric wires. The next fortification was of anila, a gaseous substance. After this, there was a network of barbed wire constructed by a demon of the name Mura. The city appeared well protected even in terms of today's scientific advancements.
When Krishna arrived, he broke in all the strongholds to pieces by the strokes of his club and scattered the military strength here and there by the constant onslaught of his arrow. With his celebrated Sudarshana Chakra, he counteracted the electrified boundaries and highlighted the canals of water and the gaseous boundary and cut the pieces the electrified network fabricated by the demon Mura. By the vibration of his consul, he broke in the hearts of the great fighters and also broke the fighting machines that were there. Similarly, he broke the walls around the city with his incredible club. The vibration of Lord Krishna consul sounded like a thunderbolt. At the time of the dissolution of the whole cosmic manifestation, the demon Mura heard the vibration of the consul awakened from his sleep and came out to see what had happened. He had 5 heads and had long been living within the waters. The Mura demon was as brilliant as the sun at the time of the dissolution of the cosmos, and his temper was like blazing fire. The effulgence of his body was so dazzling that he was difficult to see with open eyes. When he came out, he first took out the trident and rushed the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The demon Mura in his onslaught was like a big snake attacking Garuda. His angry mood was very severe, and he appeared ready to devour the 3 worlds. First of all, they attacked the carrier of Krishna, Garuda, by railing and throwing his trident, and through his 5 mouths he vibrated sound like the roaring of a lion. This roaring vibration spread all over the atmospheres until they extended all over the world and into outer space, up and down and out of the 10 directions, rumbling throughout the entire universe.
Lord Krishna saw the trident of the Mura demon was rushing toward his carrier, Garuda. Immediately, by a trick of his hand, he took 2 arrows and threw them toward the trident, cutting it to pieces. Simultaneously, using many arrows, he pierced the mouths of the demon Mura. When Mura's demon saw himself outmaneuvered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he immediately began to strike the Lord in great anger with his club. But Lord Krishna, with his own club, broke the club of Mura to pieces before it could reach him. The demon, bereft of his weapon, decided to attack Krishna with his strong arms, but Krishna, with the aid of his Sudarshan Chakra, immediately separated the demon's 5 heads from his body. The demon then fell into the water, just as the peak of a mountain falls into the ocean after being struck by the thunderbolt of Indra.
The demon Mura had 7 sons named Tamra, Antaliksha, Sravana, Vibhavasu, Vasu, Napasvan, and Aruna. All of them became puffed up and vengeful because of the death of their father, and to retaliate, they prepared in great anger to fight with Krishna. They equipped themselves with the necessary weapons and situated Pitha, another demon, to act as commander in the battle. By the order of Bhamasura, all of them combinedly attacked Krishna. When they came before Lord Krishna, they began to shower him with many kinds of weapons like swords, clubs, lances, arrows, and tridents. But they did not know that the strength of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unlimited and invincible. Krishna, with his arrows, cut all the weapons of the mane of Bhamasura into pieces like grains. Krishna then threw his weapons, and Bhamasura's commander-in-chief, Pitha, along with his assistants, fell down, their military dress cut off, and their heads, legs, arms, and thighs severed. All of them were sent to the superintendent of death, Yamaraj.
Bhaumasura, who was also known as Narakasura, happened to be the son of the earth personified. When he saw that all his soldiers, commanders, and fighters had been killed on the battlefield by the strokes of the weapons of the personality of Godhead, he became exceedingly angry at the Lord. He then came out of the city with a great number of elephants who had all been born and brought up on the seashore. All of them were highly intoxicated. When they came out, they saw that Lord Krishna and his wife were beautifully situated high in outer space, just like a blackish cloud about the sun, glittering with the light of electricity. The demon Bhaumasura immediately released a weapon called Shatagni, by which he could kill the hundreds of warriors with one stroke, and all his assistants simultaneously threw their respective weapons at the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna counteracted all these weapons by releasing his feathered arrows. The result of this fight was that all the soldiers and commanders of Bhaumasura fell to the ground, their arms, legs, and heads separated from their trunks, and all their horses and elephants also fell with them. In this way, all the weapons released by Bhaumasura were cut to pieces by the Lord's arrows.
The Lord was fighting on the back of Garuda, who was helping him by striking the horses and elephants with his wings and scratching their heads with his nails and sharp beak. The elephants, feeling much pain from Garuda's attack on them, all dispersed from the battlefield. Bhaumasura alone remained on the battlefield, and he engaged himself in fighting with Krishna. He saw that Krishna's carrier Garuda had caused great disturbance to his soldiers and elephants, and in great anger he struck Garuda with all his strength, which defined the strength of a thunderbolt. Fortunately, Garuda was not an ordinary bird, and he felt the strokes given by Bhaumasura just as a great elephant feels the impact of a garland of flowers.
Bhaumasura thus came to see that none of his tricks would act upon Krishna, and he became aware that all his attempts to kill Krishna would be frustrated. Yet he tried for the last time. Taking a trident in his hand to strike him, Krishna was so dexterous that before Bhaumasura could throw his trident, his head was cut off by the sharp Sudarshana chakra. His head, illuminated by earrings and a helmet, fell down on the battlefield. On the occasion of Bhaumasura's being killed by Lord Krishna, all the demons' relatives screamed in disappointment, and the saintly persons glorified the Shivarala's activities of the Lord. Taking this opportunity, the denizens of the heavenly planets showered flowers on the Lord.
At this time, the earth personified appeared before Lord Krishna and greeted him with a Vajanti flower garland. She then returned the dazzling earrings of Aditi, bedecked with jewels and gold. She also returned the umbrella of Varuna along with a valuable jewel, which she presents to Krishna. After this, the earth personified offered her prayers to Krishna, the Supreme Personality and Master of the world, who is always worshipped to exalted demigod. She fell down in obeisance and in great devotional ecstasy began to speak.
Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who is always present with four symbols, namely his conch shell, disc, lotus, and club. and who is the Lord of all demigods. Please accept my respectful obeisances unto you. My dear Lord, you are the Supersoul, and in order to satisfy the aspirations of your devotees, you descend to the earth in your various transcendental incarnations, which are just appropriate to the devotee's worshipful desire. Kindly accept my respectful obeisances. My dear Lord, the lotus flower grows out of your navel, and you are always decorated with a garland of lotus flowers. Your eyes are always spread like the petals of the lotus flower, and therefore they are all pleasing to the eyes of others. Your soft and delicate lotus feet are always worshipped by your unalloyed devotees, and those lotus feet pacify their lotus-like hearts. I, therefore, repeatedly offer my respectful obeisances unto you.
You possess all beauty, strength, fame, property, knowledge, and renunciation. You are the shelter of all six opulences. Although you are all-pervading, you have appeared as the son of Vasudeva. Please, therefore, accept my respectful obeisances. You are the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the supreme cause of all causes. Only your Lordship is the reservoir of all knowledge. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Personally, you are unborn. Still, you are the father of the whole cosmic manifestation. You are the reservoir and shelter of all kinds of energies. The manifested appearance of this world is caused by you, and you are both the cause and effect of this cosmic manifestation. Please, therefore, accept my respectful obeisances.
My dear Lord, as for the three gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, they are not independent of you. When there is a necessity of creating this cosmic manifestation, you create your passionate appearance of Brahma, and when you want to maintain these cosmic manifestations, you expand yourself as Lord Vishnu, the reservoir of all goodness. Similarly, you appear as the Lord Shiva, master of the mood of good ignorance, and thus dissolve the whole creation. You always maintain your transcendental position in spite of creating these three modes of material nature. You are never entangled in these modes of nature as the ordinary living entities are. Actually, my Lord, you are the material nature. You are the Father of the universe, and you are eternal time, which has caused a combination of the elements of the nature and the manifestations of the material creation. Still, you are always transcendental to all these material activities. My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know that earth, water, fire, air, sky, and the five senses, sense objects, mind, and the senses, and their deities, egotism, and the total material energy, all things animate and inanimate in this phenomenal world rest upon you. Since everything is produced of you, nothing can be separate from you. Yet, since you are the transcendentally situated, nothing material can be identified with your personality. Everything is therefore simultaneously one with you and different from you. And the philosophers who try to separate everything from you are certainly mistaken in their viewpoint.
My dear Lord, may I inform you that this boy, whose name is Bhagadatta, is the son of my son Bhaumasura. He has been very much affected by the ghastly situation created by the death of his father, and has become very much confused and afraid. I have therefore brought him to surrender unto your lotus feet. I request your Lordship to give shelter to this boy and bless him with your lotus feet. I bring him to you so that he may be relieved of the reactions of all the sinful activities of his father.
So we will end our Krishna book reading to Srila Prabhupada. We will end, and next time we will start from page 526 according to this edition. So let us offer our humble obeisances respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and to each other. Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Sunyavadi Pasacha Desatarine. And to each other. Panchakalpa Tarvyascha Kripa Sindhuevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you everyone. Jaya Srila Prabhupada.